Hi, everybody. Welcome to our YouTube audience. This is Radical Age Reversal. I am now going to bring in our Win-Win Women audience and get started. Good afternoon. I'm Carrie Donegan. Welcome to Radical Age Reversal. We're in the book 30% Happier in 30 Days. And this has been a magnificent journey for me. I hope you're enjoying the book as much as I am. Today's chapter is perfectly suited for our essential oil lovers because it is called Just Breathe. So, of course, today we're going to take a look at doTERRA's beautiful blend of oils, Breathe Essential Oils. I use this blend all the time for so many different applications, not just for chest congestion or for a stuffy nose or a clogged head or sinuses or something like that. I really find this blend to be super versatile, also very appealing to people. It's not off-putting. You're not going to see people who walk into a room and say, "What's that smell?" As they so often do from time to time when they are encountering an essential oil or a plant that they're not familiar with. But remember, our goal of this show is longevity. And so being able to bring lots of oxygen into your cells and being able to breathe deeply and function at full lung capacity is, of course, a goal and a necessity when it comes to longevity. Remember, even your youthful look, your skin, the brightness of your eyes, the vitality in your step, all of that is tied to the amount of oxygen and respiration. And of course, the respiratory system and the cardiovascular system are totally intertwined. And so, to keep your heart healthy, we also need to keep our lungs healthy. The other thing we have to keep in mind is your lungs are also one of your defense mechanisms. And so it is a filter. It's going to clean out all of the toxins in the air, whether they be natural toxins like airborne allergen or a pollen, to some of the more artificial chemically laden toxins could be an off-gassing from the brand new carpeting in your home or that beautiful new car smell, which is actually not super healthy for us, even though it does smell really good. If you go to get your hair done and you're breathing in the chemicals from the hair dye, it's also really dangerous. And if you have a hairdresser that you adore, and even if you don't adore them, and someone who cleans your home, all of those chemicals that they're around actually will impede upon their breathing capacity. So, what a great gift, right, for the person who takes care of your lungs or takes care of your hair to help you take care of their lungs. So, I really like that. Let me show you how to use it. Of course, you can put this in a diffuser, which is wonderful, but I just like to roll it around in my hands, cover my nose and mouth, and just breathe. The other thing that you can do is actually apply it to your chest, which can be a little tricky when you're already dressed, but you can go ahead and do that. And also your back. So remember, your lungs are sandwiched in between your chest cavity. And so you want to get that oil as much as you possibly can on the back and on the front, as close to your lungs as possible. Oh, it feels so good. It's just, it wakes you up. You feel automatically kind of that peppermint, the eucalyptus. This is also something that's great to put on a towel in the shower, like a little washcloth. And then as you're showering, all of that is vaporizing into the air. It's really beautiful. But let's see what Dr. Amen has to say about breathing today. He says, contrary to what most people think, some anxiety is actually a good thing. When kept in balance, anxiety keeps you safe from your brain doing its part to protect you from making silly or tragic mistakes. When you have a healthy level of stress before a major test or an important assignment, you're engaged and primed to perform at your highest level. When you're mentally prepared, you understand the parameters and boundaries of the project, which lowers anxiety levels and allows you to perform at your best. So, that little level of stress, that manageable stress, actually gets you primed and ready to perform, as opposed to overwhelming stress that can actually stop you in your tracks and keep you from performing at your highest level. Dr. Danielle Amina, a wonderful psychiatrist who works with me at the Amen Clinic, says, we actually need anxiety. Everybody thinks that anxiety is a bad thing, but you're not supposed to try to completely avoid anxiety. you're supposed to set it as your brain trying to tell you something. Anxiety is your brain's warning you of potential danger. It may be reminding you of something you did that caused you to be injured physically or to be hurt emotionally. Simply put, anxiety is your brain's way of telling you, don't make that mistake again. And that's a good thing. Dr. Amina says, I actually get concerned when people go too low in anxiety. Some people will try to get themselves to go really low in anxiety, whether it's with prescribed medications or with non-prescribed options like weed or alcohol. But if you dip your anxiety too low, you will eventually impact your motivation. Okay, that struck me as something really interesting. So we do need anxiety or stress or that little butterfly in your stomach, right? You need that to push you forward. The goal should be to strive for a healthy amount of anxiety, enough to motivate you to get things done, but not so much that fears and worries prevent you from feeling happy. Of course, at some point, almost all of us succumb to anxiety attacks of intense fear based on perceived threats rather than imminent danger. To calm their nerves, some people turn to alcohol, marijuana, or other substances. But there are other healthier ways to soothe stress and anxiety. In fact, you can get control of your symptoms by following a simple 4-step panic plan that I've taught to hundreds of patients. So, this is the part where you probably want to grab a notebook and write this down if you don't have this book. So, and you can pause the video if you need to and go back once you're ready to write this down. So, number 1, don't forget to breathe. When anxiety threatens to swallow you, your breathing becomes shallow, rapid, or erratic. Since the brain is most metabolically active organ in the body, and a mental state that lowers the inflow of oxygen will trigger more fear and panic, stop this downward spiral in its track by being mindful that it's happening and taking slow, deep breaths to boost oxygen levels in the brain. So let's try this together. And I would urge you to do this with Breathe Blend. Don't just try to breathe, although it obviously is going to be helpful. This is going to make it so much easier. So, ready? You're going to you're going to exhale out and try to really empty your lungs the first time, and then take a nice deep breath in. And then it's almost like you're kind of going up a mountain and then down a mountain. And you can almost think of it as riding a wave. I really like this, and I think we've talked about this in previous episodes, that dealing with addiction especially, it really helps if you can do this exercise called riding the wave. So for example, if I really, really wanted a drink, a piece of cake, I wanted to go shopping, whatever your addiction is, gambling, you name it, they're all out there, drugs, they're all out there, eating, right? So what you want to do is be in the feeling, right? I really want fill in the blank. And what you want to do is actually try to imagine that you're in the ocean. Hopefully everybody has had this experience where you're kind of bobbing up and down, right? And the wave is taking you, you're not actually doing anything. You're literally like riding the wave. So I just want you to kind of breathe in. Imagine you're in the most beautiful ocean setting. The sun is out. It's not too crazy. The water's not choppy or rough or violent. It's just a nice, steady lapping of that ocean water, and just kind of ride it. So you're going to like breathe in. And as the water goes down, you're going to breathe out. And you're going to breathe in and breathe out. And the idea isn't to slow your breath so much that you're going to pass out, because I think, sometimes people can get to that point, but it's just sort of like being mindful of your breathing, kind of rolling with the waves, going back to previous chapters that we discussed in the book about remembering that this too shall pass, that you've been in happier times, that you can hold on to those memories. And that's going to help you kind of like bring you back into that slowly lapping wave-like rhythm. Okay. So I think that's step one. All right. How do you practice deep breathing? By learning how to breathe from your diaphragm, an area of the body that tends to clench up when you're anxious. To practice breathing from the diaphragm, try to do this. Okay, here's another tool. Lie on your back, place a small book on your belly. As you take 3 to 4 seconds to slowly inhale air through your nose, watch the book rise. Hold the breath at the top of your inhalation for a second. When you exhale for 6 to 8 seconds, watch the books go down. Then hold your breath for a second before inhaling again. Repeat this 10 times and notice how relaxed you feel. Now, step two, don't flee even though everything within you says run. When anxiety feels like it's wrapping you in a little bear hug, resist the temptation to flee for the hills. Do not ignore what is causing your anxiety. Leaving the situation, unless it is dangerous or life threatening, allows anxiety to control you. So, this doesn't necessarily mean actually run, right? So, let's say you have a looming tax deadline and you're very, very anxious about it. The idea isn't to do your laundry first. The idea would be to put the laundry aside, right? And sit down and tell yourself, I can do this. I can do difficult things. I'm not going to run. This isn't going to kill me. I am going to be able to manage this. And little by little, you're going to take steps in the right direction of moving the ball forward, whether it's doing your taxes, doing a hard project at work, if you're a student, tackling that assignment that seems to be overwhelming for you, if you got a bad grade and you have to overcome that grade by working harder for the, or smarter on the next project, whatever it is, just kind of working towards the next best step. That's really important. Okay. Step three. So step one was breathe. Step two was don't run. Don't run. Step three, write down your thoughts. Too often in a panic situation, our thoughts are distorted and need to be challenged. Pay attention to the automatic negative thoughts, being sure to write down or record as many as you can. Do you remember the ants, automatic negative thoughts? We went over this in a previous chapter, right? So, like, if the first thing that comes to you when you're in a really bad situation is, so for example, for a student, this is probably easy because we've all been students before. You get a bad grade on a test and you immediately go to the extreme, which is, I can't do the class. I'm a failure. My life is over. I can't recover my grade. Like, everything is in a downward spiral. So you have to stop and say, actually, I have recovered from a bad grade before, or if I haven't, other people have. This is possible. What action steps can I take? Moving things toward, getting out of that automatic negative talk. So that's really important. If you can, show the thoughts that you write down to a therapist. Great. But if not, take a closer look at what you've written. Can any of them be rewritten so that they are a more realistic version of the same thought? So if the thought is, I'm going to fail the class, then maybe the realistic thought would be, if I don't change what I'm doing right now, I might fail the class, or I need to really get help in this area so I don't fail the class. I'm struggling with this information is different from this information has destroyed me. So try to use words that are more neutral and are more realistic, are more measured, and are more correct, right? So anything that's on the extremes tends to be wrong. Very, very rarely do we commit actions that I'm going to say fall on the fringes. So if you're talking about a color spectrum, for example, and everything goes from white to black, and there's a lot of gray on the inside, right? In between, shades of gray. We talk about this all the time with philosophy, with virtue, with ideologies, with approaches, all that kind of stuff. But let's just think of it in terms of your thought process. Most of us do not do something that cannot, in some way, shape, or form, be mitigated, right? Most of us, for example, really don't have to worry about our life literally ending. And I will share with you, my very, very dear friend's husband was literally given a cancer death sentence almost 2 months ago now. And he's recovering and the treatment's working and he's doing really, really well. And so it is a miracle, but it also goes to prove that sometimes our worst fears actually don't materialize, especially if we take action steps somewhere in a meaningful and thoughtful way towards a positive goal. I think those can make all the difference. It's like one of the things that makes me crazy, just as an aside, is like people who through no fault of their own, through some horrific tragedy, end up on disability. And the system is kind of set up that, if you're on disability, then you can't earn any money, which isn't right in my opinion, because like when you take away someone's sense of purpose, right? If they can't do the thing that they were meant to do for fear of losing money, then they've also lost a big chunk of their identity to an illness or to an accident. And although I'm not proposing that I have the final solution to this situation, I will say that it's super important for us to remember that, you know, we all are here for a purpose. And so you don't want to ever get into the fear of, I can't do that because I'm going to lose my benefits. I'm going to lose my money. I'm going to lose my income. There has to be a measured way for you to get the help that you need, but also fulfill the life that you were here to do. You can't. So I don't know if that, maybe I'm simplifying something that's a lot more complex, but I think there's a philosophy, a psychology that goes into that situation that often derails people and prevents them from living their best life, even under difficult circumstances. So that's really important to kind of keep in mind. All right. So step 4. Consider a simple supplement such as GABA or magnesium. Okay, so I love the adaptive supplement. It has GABA in it. I love the bone nutrient. It has magnesium in it. I take the magnesium at night. I take the adaptive in the morning. And we've talked about bookending your day between adaptive and serenity. You can also bookend your day between adaptive and bone nutrient. Really, really great ways to manage stress. So the next time you find yourself feeling a little anxious, remember that it can be a good thing. Pay attention to what your brain's telling you. And if you start to feel like you're losing control, just breathe. I'm Carrie Donegan. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Radical Rage Reversal. And we are going to continue in the book, 30% Happier in 30 Days. Next week, we are through 24 chapters. We're coming to the end, only 6 more left to go. But I hope you're enjoying this and taking great notes. And more importantly, that you're doing the action steps you need to live a more joyful life. I will see you next week. God bless.